for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. It's Wednesday, July 25th, 2018. 207 days into the new year, just 158 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? It's Wednesday, and Billy Carson is here tonight. He just got back from a research trip in Central and South America. So we're going to find out what he discovered. What did he find? Billy Carson here tonight on Fade to Black. Tomorrow's another Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom live, followed by open lines all night long. There you go. Now, to stay in touch with this show, you only need to do a few things. One, go to OnStellar, OnStellar.com. OnStellar, send me your friend request. Fade to Black is over there. Game Changer Network is over there. Rita is over there. All of your favorite researchers and friends and everything. Everybody is over at OnStellar posting and sharing knowledge. The next great social media platform. And it's there, and it's for you. So go. If you haven't registered OnStellar.com, do it. Use my promo code, referral code, Jimmy. When you do, you don't have to, but you're going to want to. So use my referral code, Jimmy, and get registered and get your profile picture up and send me your friend request. Now, also, I am probably going to write another article tomorrow for OnStellar stating, don't send me a friend request unless you have a profile picture. Don't do it. Okay? Because I'm not going to, So, and if you've already registered and you haven't uploaded a profile picture, it doesn't have to be a picture of you. Make it of your dog. I don't care. Use mine. Use a picture of me. I don't care. But just show me that you are there with intent. Right? Okay? That's it. That you care. It's called etiquette. All right, get your profile picture up and send me your friend request. And if you've already sent me your friend request and haven't gotten a reply, well, now you know why. Love my River Moon coffee. Unbelievable day today in the news. Unbelievable day. Now, head over to jimmychurchradio.com. We've got a bunch of breaking news going on over there. The first thing, and I posted this today over at OnStellar, and I knew this was going on. I thought that we got it fixed and so forth. And there's reasons for why I thought I got it fixed. It's because OnStellar is not the next great media. It's the first great. No, it's not. Thank you for that, Eddie and PA. I agree with you. I agree. It is the first great one. It's perfect. It's perfection. Okay, so over at jimmychurchradio.com, New Manna, the links to the banners are now correct. And I kept getting email. I'm turning around and contacting, different people inside of our organization who's turning around and connecting to, and it's web guy, tech guy versus tech guy, all of it, and it just, it's fixed. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. All right. So I just ignored it. Get another email. I'm like, man, is it down again? And I would go and click on the link. The bottom line is we were sent instructions back on May 17th about the changes that were made to New Manna and their website. Those instructions got lost in the mix. I didn't get it, right? And those around me who was distributed to didn't give it to me. I didn't know. And so I'm not pointing fingers at anybody around here. I'm just not. I don't work that way. But today it's fixed. And it was always fixed. You just never had a way to get to it. So now New Manna is up and running. The other good news for that is the Jimmy 10 promotion. I explained all of this in my article today on OnStellar. The Jimmy 10 promotion, which is 10% off. 10% off, free shipping, and an autographed T-shirt for all orders over $100. The promo code is Jimmy 10 instead of the old promo code, which is still running, which is Jimmy. Okay, so the old promo code Jimmy will get you 5% off. This new one gets you 10. And there you go. Go and click, and all the instructions are there. It's unbelievable that it's now working. And how it wasn't working, comedy of errors. And I know who, but I'm just not going to do it. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Not in a public place. So there's that. All right, so New Manna fixed. And so I post today. I'm all excited. Oh, New Manna's fixed. It was never broke, but so immediately orders started flowing in. So thank you, everybody, and I really appreciate that. And it just goes to show you, I was so frustrated with it, and I got another email and a text today and a message on OnStellar. 3 in a row, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, I'm done with this. I'm done. I emailed them all out to the crew. I get email back and all fixed, and there you go. So, New Manna done. The other breaking news today, huge. A liquid lake of water has been discovered on Mars. Under the now. Okay, well, I'm going to finish with the way I perceived the press releases today, and I read every one, not everyone, but probably 15 to get to the bottom line with this, because it was a little misleading on a couple. So let me just clear this up. It's under the ice cap on the South Pole. It's about 12 miles wide, and it's 3 feet deep. That's it. It's only 3 feet of water. It's 12 miles wide. The discovery is made by Marsis, and it's a radar instrument on board the European Space Agency's ESA Mars Express orbiter. So while these findings suggest water is present, which is cool, they don't confirm anything further. In other words, no aliens yet. That'll be next, right? No aliens yet. But there were, in a couple of press releases that I read today, said that the lake was visible. It was liquid water, and it was next to the ice cap, the South Polar ice cap. And I was like, wait a minute. A liquid lake, right? Liquid water exposed on the Martian surface. And I read this twice. And then I read that it was underneath. I had to go through and dig. So I don't know where you have read your info on this, but as far as I can tell, it's under the ice. Now, it's liquid, but it's under the ice cap. It is not on top of, and the pictures are misleading too. Okay, now I could be dead wrong on this, but I read so much. I believe it is under the planet's southern polar ice cap. Okay, all right. Big news, though. I mean, that's really, really, really big stuff. And last, I've been announcing this all week long. I'm so happy for all of you. 20% discount on everything that River Moon Coffee offers. Okay, everything. 20% off. Promo code Coffee Break. 2 words, Coffee Break. Click on the River Moon Coffee banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. All right, 2 words, Coffee Break. 20% off, and that includes Fade to Black blend. Next, I want to get this out of the way. I'll mention it again later on in the show. Over at SoulTechGathering.com for our conference, Soul Tech, August 9th through the 12th. The catering and all of the food is now on the website. Now, if you didn't get an email, you should have gotten an automatic email today on this. If you didn't get it, I'm telling you now. Go to SoulTechGathering.com and go and get your food. Okay, very important. Gourmet catering. I just can't. It's going to be my favorite part of this trip. It's this catering. Oh, you know me. And what we've got lined up, once Rita gives me permission, I might leak some of the dinner action. Maybe even lunch. Breakfast, too. I'll leak it out here on the air. It's incredible. All right. And then August 19th, I'll be 17th through the 19th. I'll be there on the 19th. I'll be at Dimensions of Disclosure. It's a week later after Soul Tech in Loveland, Colorado with Corey Good and Will Koch and Emery Smith and Teresa Yanaris and Gerald O'Donnell, Jordan Sather, 20 other speakers, presenters. DimensionsOfDisclosure.com. Man, we've got a busy month of August coming up, starting this weekend. I'll be over at Coast to Coast Saturday and Sunday. Then we do Fade to Black, and then we turn around, and that's it, man. That's it. We head up to Soul Tech. Unbelievable. And then we get back from Soul Tech. We do some Fade to Black, and then we turn around, and I head out to Colorado, come back, and I think when I come back from Colorado, I'm at Coast to Coast. So there you go. It's going to be crazy. One of those crazy, crazy months. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We have over 890 archive shows. We're coming up on show number 900. Today is 894. Tomorrow's 5. 6, 7, 8. Yeah. I don't know when we're going to hit 900. My math is all screwed up. But you can go and subscribe to our podcast. Over 890 archive shows. Apple, Android, all platforms. Just $2 per month. Click on the podcast banner at jimmychurchradio.com. And while you are there, you can help support the show. Become a Fadernaut over at our membership section of the site. And all of the memberships now are streamlined. So if you need to renew, that should be really simple to do now on the website. Everything is automated. No matter what you want to get there, it's all streamlined. So, and I think, or maybe it's, we haven't done this rep. I think you can gift now, right? I think you can gift it. So that's pretty cool too. And you can do everything right there in our membership section. And we have, for the renewals, we've got the new Fade to Black shirts. And for the Game Changers, and also all of those autographed Fade to Black embroidered hats. And if you've got one, Crazy Shed, Jimmy. No, Sked. It's SCHED, right? John Proctor's somewhere. He just tweeted. Where's the picture? He says he's in New York City. That's actually, oh, look. I just saw the, like that shirt. You know what? When you guys post shirts and I see that they're autographed, you have no idea how cool that is. Today is 894, so that means we've got, 6 more shows. So, yeah, it won't be this week or next week. It'll be the week after. Is it? Yeah, what a drag. Or is it tomorrow? I don't know. I can't think anymore. I got Billy Carson in here tonight. I'm all excited. So now, let me get to everything else that we normally do right here, which is all of our sponsors. Life Change Tea, GetTheTea.com, River Moon Coffee, Ancient Life Oil, Sacred Skulls, Numana Food Storage, Bearing Optics. Man, if you didn't get your Bearing Optics, your night vision goggles, you may not have them in time for Soltech. Wow, that'll be a drag. But you can get your night vision goggles right there, Bearing Optics. Go see Alec Hoffman, and his phone number is right there. Let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Matt LeBlanc. Matt LeBlanc is 51 years old today. Man, he's done a lot for 51. Of course, star of Friends. Was pretty good in Lost in Space. I'll go on the record and say that. But pretty close to epic on the show episodes. I don't know if that's Showtime or HBO, but it's pretty damn funny. Jacob, only Rita knows. Seriously. Yeah, I have no idea, Jacob. I was just peeking into the chat rooms. And also 2 chat rooms, Spreaker and KGRA, The Planet. Our dead guy's birthday today, Brad Renfro. Seems like I say this every year, and it's almost like I don't want to let it go. There's plenty of people that had birthdays today that are dead. But Brad Renfro, I just enjoyed. I thought he was a great actor. 1982 to 2008, died at the age of 25. And he's best known for The Client, and I get that. Apt Pupil, I get that too. He also played Huckleberry Finn in the Disney film Tom and Huck. But he was in one of my favorite movies of all time, Ghost World. And it's not only a good role, but he played it spot on. And he just couldn't get away from drugs and crime and thugs. He couldn't do it. Series of criminal arrests and stints in drug treatment centers limited his choice of roles. Nobody wanted to cast him anymore. And he ended up dying of a heroin overdose in 2008 at the age of 25, right here in his apartment in Los Angeles, California. It's just tragic. One of the tragic Hollywood stories right there, Brad Renfro. But Brad, I say happy birthday every year. So happy birthday. On this day in history, the year 2000, a Concorde jet crashes upon takeoff in Paris, killing everyone on board, as well as 4 people on the ground. You remember when this happened. It was the year 2000. The Concorde, the world's fastest commercial jet, had enjoyed a perfect safety record up to that point, with no crashes in the plane's 31-year history. I remember this was probably 1995. I fly to Manhattan, and when I landed at JFK, and we circle around, as we were landing, but then we were circling. I see like 4 Concordes sitting next to each other on the tarmac. And I was like, those are the coolest looking planes ever in the history of everything. And I couldn't take my eyes off of them. And there they were just parked. And, we taxied, we rolled by them. I think we flew over them. And I saw them first, and then we taxied by them. But I couldn't take my eyes off of them. And every time that I flew into New York, which is, a few times a year, I couldn't wait to see the Concordes there. And then they got grounded. Remember that? And they were yanked out of service. But it was so cool to go to JFK and see him sitting there. It was like, space 1999 right there. I just miss that. I can't believe that they're gone. But that happened in 2000, right? Unbelievable. Fader fact. Here we go. Fader fact. Mr. Potato Head was the first toy to be advertised on TV. That's Fader fact. Do you feel smarter? Do you? Do you feel smarter right now? Mr. Potato Head, first toy to be advertised on TV. And before you say that makes sense, It makes a whole lot of sense, don't it? All right. I had a Mr. Potato Head. I think everybody did. I miss, Mr. Potato Head. I did the same thing that everybody did. You lose one of the ears, right? So now you only got one ear. You lose one of the eyes, so you got two different eyes. You remember that? That's pretty good, Karen. That's pretty fast. You too, Eric. How can you guys? I just mentioned Mr. Potato Head 20 seconds ago, and you guys got GIFs up already. Man, that is a crazy shot, a crazy GIF of Zuckerberg. That's the dude with the mullet in the background. He was sitting in front of that lady with hair. Remember that? It's pretty funny. All right. Where am I at? Somebody help me. Help me, please. This is what we're going to do now. All right. Tonight, Billy Carson is here. He just got back from Central and South America. He was in Mexico and went down to Peru. Big research trip down there. So what did he find out? And now we're going to get into all of that. But what I did want to talk about briefly before we move on is this. And let me hit my coffee. Last night, we had Curtis Don Vito on the show. And listening to him, and it was a great conversation. And if you missed it, it's posted up on YouTube, and it's there on Spreaker and iHeartRadio and whatever. You can go and listen to it. But that being said, listening to him last night get emotional. And there were a couple of times, and I spoke to Curtis today, there were a couple of times last night during the conversation where I could tell, and I'm sure that you could too, that he did not want to continue answering a couple of questions because of the emotions that it was stirring up inside of him. And not only that, where the answers were going to lead, and he knew what the answers were going to be, and he didn't want to go there. I could tell. Now, it's my job, as soon as I hear that, I don't want anybody to go into a zone that they don't want to go into. And that's where the balance is. But I also know that there is something precious that I need to get to at that moment. So I'm not going to let that go. And those answers eventually came out last night. I talked to Curtis today about that. He was okay with it. But I wanted to make sure that, he was okay. And he knew, and he said, Jimmy, man, I didn't want to go there a couple of times, but you doing what you do, you got those things out of me. I said, well, how are you today? I'm cool. And I said, all right. He said, but what do you think the audience, was it just too much for? I said, no, actually, it wasn't enough. And I went back and I said to him today, when you first talked about what happened when you were 8 years old and you were out playing, and across this field there were a couple of small beings there, you run across the field and they're aliens, they're ETs, and they're waving for you to go and follow them, and you walk around the corner and then they lead you up to their spaceship. At that point, Curtis, it's all done. There isn't any further anywhere for you to go. Okay, so it doesn't matter. You've taken it that far. Now let's just discuss everything. Don't hold back. And he didn't. And there were a couple of moments last night where he didn't want to take it a step further. Now, why am I bringing this up? Curtis is a known celebrity. He's a rock star. He's the front man for Snoo. Talented songwriter, talented singer, performer. He's got it all. Great artist. You can tell what he has done with the band. I'm talking about artwork. He's just a talented, known public figure. And so for him to tell these stories and these experiences, I didn't see anybody reacting last night in a strange way. And not any more different than the other guests that we've had on the show that people have problems with in the community. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, what's the difference? Actually, none. There's no difference with what Curtis brought to the table last night in that conversation or anybody else on this show. What's the difference between Curtis and everybody else? You have listened to criticism about other people that have clouded your judgment. Clouded your judgment. It is so important for us, and that show last night grounded me again to go back and say this to you one more time. Every guest that we have on this show, we treat with respect. Every guest that we have on this show, we treat as family. I'll ask the questions. I'll get the answers out of them. And then we move on. We do another show. We do another show. And that comes in, and we get the information, and we compare it to other data that we collected from the week before, the month before, the year before, and information that we will collect in the future. And we will do that. And we'll just take these little pieces and put it all together and go, wow, check this out. But that's what we do here. And don't ever lose sight of that. All right? Are we clear? Look, I've said what I'm saying right now. I said it last year. I said it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I've said it I say it all the time. And we lose sight of it. Too much is out there right now where you are influenced by, myself included, where we are influenced by some schmucks out there that want to bring people down out of jealousy and ego. And that is the truth. That's the truth. So let's not lose sight of that. That was an amazing conversation last night. Think about that. It's Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Billy Carson. I cannot believe the week that we have had on this show. Tremendous week. I said this about Fade to Black last week and the week before. Unbelievable week this week on this show. Unbelievable. Billy Carson is here tonight. Tomorrow night is Fader Night with John Rappaport. You guys are so spoiled. Most spoiled, bestest, favoritist, coolest audience in the world. Shoot me an email to jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. You can follow me on Twitter @jchurchradio. And I'll be right back with our guest, Billy Carson. Forbidden Knowledge, right after this short break. Stay with me.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
What can I say about the most popular tea on the internet? And what do customers say about Life Change Tea at getthetea.com? A lot. But by federal law, we at getthetea.com cannot make claims to how this product can enhance your health. We cannot even post our testimonies without being in compliance. So how do we get past the hump? Try our products at getthetea.com and see for yourself. You can send us a testimony, but we just can't post it. Bummer. Our products are GMO-free and organic. We pride ourselves in being the best we can be, and we urge you to take charge of your health. We're 11 years strong, and many of our customers have shared their successes with friends and family. Protect your colon. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. Getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Wednesday night, our guest is Billy Carson. The segment of Fade to Black is proudly brought to you by Life Change Tea. GetTheTea.com. Go to the banners over at JimmyChurchRadio.com for Life Change Tea. Click. Use the promo code FADER, F-A-D-E-R, free shipping on everything. Billy Carson is back. He's the author of the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. It's alleged that my hard copy is coming in the mail. Better be autographed too, Billy. He's an expert host on the new original streaming series by Gaia named Deep Space. The series is an exploration of the secret space program. We'll be talking a little bit about that tonight. He's also an expert host on ancient civilizations over at Gaia. He has combined forces with top anomaly hunters in the world to form the United Family of Anomaly Hunters, UFAH. Their mission is to provide evidence of past and present life on Earth and other celestial bodies inside our solar system and of technologies being used along with their potential origins. The group claims to have pioneered two fields of science, Archeo-astronomy and Astro-anthropology. I like that. Mr. Carson is the CEO of First Class Space Agency based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. His space agency is involved in research and development of alternative propulsion systems and zero-point energy devices. He's also the founder of Pantheon Elite Records. That's right. He's a label head. Yeah. The label features 5 conscious musicians, artists, including himself. And I believe his last release last month charted on 4 Billboard charts. And he just returned from a research trip to Central and South America. We're going to discuss everything that he has discovered. So much to discuss tonight. I'd like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Billy Carson, our head coach. Billy, how are you, man?
Oh, man, fantastic. And thanks for having me back. I'm excited to be back and happy to be back.
Yeah, it's so great to have you here. But before we get too out of control tonight, because there's so much to discuss, tell me about your album. One of your artists charted on Billboard last month.
Yes, an album that I executive produced and co-produced many of the songs, as well as co-wrote a few songs in there and performed on a few songs on this album. Return of Enki, great name, Return of Enki by Donnie Arcade. And we actually hit the Billboard charts in 4 categories. The Heat Seekers category for number 8 on the list.
Whoa!
The rap album sales were number 15. We hit independent album. Was number 33 or 32, I believe, and R&B/rap album was, I believe, number like 23. And we've been on the charts since that time for the last 5 weeks in a row now. We've been on the charts in 3 categories for the last 4 or 5 weeks. So we're still on there right now. So it's really exciting. We're probably going to get nominated for a Grammy.
And he is so cool. He is so cool, and he's on Stellar.
Yes, on Stellar. Yes, Donnie Arcade, Donny Arcade, like the video game. All conscious music with lyrics that you can let your kids listen to and really enlighten people. And what we did was we decided to go with the music, the beats that the kids love. The kids meaning the younger generation.
Right.
The trap style beat, but encoding it with conscious lyrics of everything from conspiracies to organic eating and everything else, and people just caught on to it, and it's becoming a phenomenon.
Now, who do I have to talk to get him on Fade to Black?
Oh, man, you're talking to the guy. I can get him on here immediately, man. He'd love to get on Fade to Black. He loves your show. He listens to it all the time.
I know. I've got to get him on, and let's do that as soon as possible. Let's just get that done. His stuff, his video, I mean, it's just, it goes without saying that he's world class, but he's part of our community, man. Absolutely. And it's such an honor to have him with us. So, let's get him on as soon as we can. And the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about was this breaking news today about this lake of water found on Mars.
Yes, sir. And, the thing is, we've been reporting this water, these lakes of pools of water coming from underneath the ground and filling up these areas since 2011. We've been reporting this. Some people, like this guy named Skipper, who unfortunately passed away, was reporting it even before that. But we have been reporting it. We got laughed at so many times by different news outlets and media outlets and told we were psychos and crazies and everything else. And now the official press release comes out that there are pools of water and lakes of water on Mars, just as we stated many years ago.
12 miles wide.
Yes, sir.
12 miles wide. And now, from what I could gather, I'm going to do this. I shot out an email today. I didn't get a response back yet today. I'm sure everybody's talking to him. Over at NASA, I'm going to get one of their engineers on the show to talk about this. But everything that I could find is that it is 3 feet deep.
Yeah.
So it's 12 miles wide, 3 feet deep.
Yeah, they want to give you the illusion that it's very, very shallow. But some of the areas that we've taken down images directly from NASA, from the European Space Agency, some of these areas, just based on some of the radar and everything else, it doesn't appear to be that they're only 3 feet deep. There's some areas that are probably most likely deeper than that, just because you can tell by some of the rocks that are protruding from the top of the water, and also some of the objects that appear to be beneath the water. So I think eventually, gradually, they're going to come out and say that there's, lakes that may be 15, 20, maybe even 30 feet deep in certain areas. And eventually there's going to be multiple lakes that they disclose. And then eventually they're going to disclose that they found bacteria or algae or something like that.
Yeah, step by step by step. Everybody wants to say drip, drip, drip.
Mm-hmm. Right,
but
exactly.
It's certainly, because it was just 2 weeks ago where they announced, bacteria. something strange in the rocks that is, and then this comes out. We don't know what's going to be next, but it seems like it's like a crescendo, right?
Yeah.
It's building up to something where they're, Now, what does this say to you, though, when you hear liquid water, not melted ice, right? This is different. We are talking about standing pools of water. Not liquid water where they said it would collect at night, it would condense, and it would, they always had an out with it, right? It's not water, but now they're saying water, liquid water, standing water. What does this say to you?
This says to be that they're preparing the masses for what's going to happen, a mass exodus of billionaires to Mars, and they're basically kind of giving soft disclosure along the way to let us know gradually that it's a habitable planet. There's now all of a sudden enough oxygen. In other words, there's enough oxygen as if we were 14 to 18,000 feet above sea level. Well, people in Tibet the monks live up there perfectly fine at 15 to 18,000 feet, and they live very long lives. So there's probably an acclimation period you would need to breathe there. There's also, at first there was no magnetic field. Now there's a magnetic field. And also because of the bow shock, which is created by the rotation of the planet on its axis, and as it orbits the sun, it creates this bow shock which bends cosmic rays around the planet, giving you the ability to live on the surface without having too much cosmic rays striking your body or your DNA. So that takes away that problem. And now all of a sudden they came out and said that the soil on Mars is better than the soil on Earth for growing crops. So here we go. They're just building up this breakaway civilization so that by the time people start going there, it's not going to be a shock. And eventually they'll probably announce, maybe in the next 10 years, that there's remnants of an ancient civilization. They won't tell us there's anything there now, but that there'll be remnants of an ancient civilization is probably something we'll hear within the next 10 years.
Now, are you suggesting, Billy, that you and we fly to Mars and we just walk off our ship without a helmet on?
No, I think you'd need a helmet at first. You'd probably have to get acclimated to the atmosphere. The temperatures do vary greatly, but we also have temperatures that have 100-degree swings right here on Earth in our deserts, right even in the Americas.
Sure.
But closer to the equator, there's been record temperatures of 99 degrees on Mars. That's a nice, bright, sunny day over here.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as people think. I think that you probably would need some type of breathing apparatus initially until your lungs and body can acclimate, and you probably would need to be on some type of altitude medicine, so forth to get acclimated, or maybe even have to stay on it, because depending on the person's physiology, they may need to be on it on a daily basis.
Now, but this is the other thing that it suggests is that the collection of oxygen is not going to be an issue. Right?
No, I don't think it's going to be an issue at all, especially if they start the process of terraforming to increase the thickness of the atmosphere, so that more of the oxygen and everything stays lower to the ground. And I think that as long as a person stays lower than 10 feet, 12 feet on a consistent basis of the I don't want to say sea level because they don't really have a sea level, but ground level. I think that person will be okay without a breathing apparatus. Anything above 10 feet, they probably would need a breathing apparatus.
And now it appears that water is not an issue. And we
not
never,
an issue.
Our community knew that it was never an issue, but now it's officially not an issue. And this is the way that I'm looking at it. The other parts of Mars, us habitating Mars, those issues that were presented to us, it seemed insurmountable. We've got to transport water and oxygen, and the radiation is too out of control. There is no atmosphere. You're going to be radiated and die there. And so there were all of it seems like slowly all of those have been taken off of the table.
Yeah, all that's gone, and now it's like, okay, it's going to be wide open for colonization, which I believe that we've already have people there. We already have people building an infrastructure there, because my biggest thing, based on the research that I've done so far, is there's no way that these comfortable billionaires are going to leave the creature comforts of Earth and go to a planet where they've got to live inside of a tin can for the rest of their life until they die. So I truly, honestly believe that the infrastructure has been established or is still being established there for the people that are going to travel there on this one-way trip, and that there'll probably be a front crowd or group that's showcased on a daily basis with some cameras saying that they're living in these cans. But behind the scenes, when the cameras go off, there's probably 3D printed houses back there, some type of infrastructure, and it's already established, most likely partially underground or mostly underground, because that's really the best way to live there, and everything else conserve energy. And because now that you have billions of tons of water, you have something called hydrogen, which a very simple filter can filter out the oxygen, and then you can use the hydrogen by electrolyzing it, and you can actually power vehicles. You have unlimited fuel source with the amount of water that's already on Mars.
And if this is there, then there must be, it's common sense, aquifers.
Oh, absolutely. There's aquifers everywhere there, underground rivers. The ice caps have been melting for a very long time, and they thought initially, or they were saying that it was frozen carbon monoxide, but now it was just really frozen H2O. And now you have billions of tons of this. These ice caps have melted and have pretty much streamed all over the planet. So there's lakes, aquifers, underground rivers. There's everything you need to create all different types of power sources. Drinking water for crops. So many things you can do when you have H2O, and of course life, which I believe that there's life all over that planet.
One last question, and then we'll move on from Mars. I've also thought about this. This is look. How do we protect ourselves from the sun here on Earth? Well, sunshades, right? That's what we do, right? Yeah. Awnings everywhere. You go to an outdoor festival, you got a nice, tent out there. No walls on the tent, but post something up above, a sunshade, over auditoriums and outdoor amphitheater. That's what we do, right? Yep. Why not do that with Mars? Right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Where we could have an entire city just underneath a giant sunshade.
Right. Well, right now, just based on the images that we've seen, it looks like you can see a lot of entrances into these underground areas.
Right.
So it seems like a lot of it's most likely built right underneath the surface, not too deep, maybe just 10, 15 feet below. You go in, and all of a sudden, I believe there's little mini cities trickled throughout the warmer regions, most likely closer to the equator, where the water is melted and flowing a lot better. I don't think I couldn't say there is, but I don't think that people would want to burrow in the colder regions in the North and South Pole with frozen ice water, when you can get closer to some of the more liquid ice water if you could. So I believe that they're using the land as a shade right now, but definitely I understand what you're saying. It's just a massive type of a shade. Cosmic rays and radiation could penetrate shades because they have the ability to. But that's why you can go outside on a very cloudy day, as a matter of fact, and you can still get a tan. Right. But I believe that the people are definitely living, or whoever's there already, I believe that they're living in these underground areas.
Right.
And some of the newer, I think, like I call them 3D printed homes, because the same technique that we're using here on Earth, they're using some of the same techniques up there, I believe. And I think these 3D printed homes probably are partially covered and partially underground.
Yeah, and the easiest answer for building on Mars, 3D printing. Just 3D printing, man. Just 3D print a city. I'm not kidding about this. They could just crank it out, no problems. And all of the other issues that we had, which is you got to put all of this stuff on a huge rocket. You've got to get it up into Earth's orbit. It's got to sit up there, and then we got to transport it from there and somehow get, we look at it like that, moving these huge amounts of freight. All you got to do is move a couple of 3D printers.
That's it, man. And you know what moves them? Those X-37B military shuttles that take off and go away for 2 years.
That have been going to Mars, those?
That have been going to Mars, yeah. They take the 3D printing supplies to Mars. And just like the guy in China that 3D prints 10 houses a day, they have those same machines up there, and they're 3D printing those houses right up there on Mars.
There's nothing crazier to me than watching those 3D printing house videos on YouTube.
Oh, they're cool, man.
Yeah, man. That is trippy, man. It's so trippy. Okay, now we've got a few minutes left, so let's set up for how we're going to come back off of the break. You just went on this research trip. How long were you gone?
I was gone for a week and a half to the Yucatan Peninsula and to Tulum in Mexico.
Oh, I thought you went to Cusco, too, as well.
Oh, no, I'm going there in a few more weeks. I'm going to Peru. Yeah, I'm going in a few more weeks to Cusco and Lima.
Oh, okay. I thought that was all on one trip. Okay, so you went to the Yucatan. You were there for 10 days. Mm-hmm. What did you find? What city did you go to first?
First, I went to Tulum. And went to the pyramids out there on the beach. Now, I had that was my first time going there and looking at the architecture, looking at the structure of these pyramids, these step pyramids. I still couldn't believe. I have some great 4K video footage and some photos. You still cannot fit a human hair in between these bricks. I mean, there's no mortar. And the way that they're constructed right on the precipice overlooking the Gulf, it's amazing how they got the supplies there to build these structures and these temples and everything else. But what really amazed me was the fact how sound the construction was. The construction was completely sound, and you can't fit a human hair in between those bricks. It's absolutely amazing.
Your photographs are really cool. And you made a comment that kind of made me angry, which was they wouldn't let you climb them.
Yeah, they wouldn't let the climb. I went to Tulum and also into the Yucatan Peninsula down to Chichen Itza, and I climbed the Pyramid of Kukulkan 20 years ago, but now they won't let you climb them because they say that people were vandalizing and writing stuff inside the top temple area as well as falling down. So you can't climb them anymore, unfortunately. That was the excuse they gave us, so you can't climb them. So this time I just got to take a lot of good, high quality, 4K footage as well as some HD photos, and to learn a little bit more about the alignments. It's aligned. The Pyramid of Kukulkan is aligned to the cardinal points, but I found some other interesting facts. I guess maybe we'll go in after the break about the longitude and latitude and how it aligns with the calendar and everything else. So it's pretty cool stuff. It's more evidence that the same builder of these pyramids at Chichen Itza and this entire complex are the same builders of Teotihuacan, the same builder of Giza, the same builder of the pyramids in China, and the Bosnian pyramids in Europe.
Now I'm looking at these images, and it's one of the most amazing pyramids there are on this planet. Mm-hmm. But I look at that, and I'm wondering. The first thing, logistics. Where's the quarry? How far away did they quarry these stones?
It was supposedly about 400 miles away.
Right.
400 to 500 miles away. And I mean, I don't know, man. They're still trying to say, that these guys lugged these bricks all the way over here. And one of the things that I found really intriguing is that a lot of people still think that the Mayans built these pyramids at Chichen Itza and Tulum and Teotihuacan, but the fact is, geological evidence proves that the Mayans did not build these structures. The Mayans arrived several hundred years after the structures were already built and literally inherited what was already there. The structures were built by the Teotihuacans, who were given the name by the Mayans because the Mayans didn't know who built them, so they actually made up the name Teotihuacans, and that's an Olmecs. So the Teotihuacans and the Olmecs were a civilization that literally built this complex and inhabited it, and the Teotihuacans, and of course, is Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan is all the same name for Thoth out of Egypt. Evidence in some of the tablets talk about Thoth leaving Africa with the Olmecs and coming to South America to kickstart civilization. and all of a sudden pyramids pop up, and with the same type of alignments and everything else. He arrived on a flying serpent. So it's Thoth from Africa, now in South America. The Mayans arrived hundreds of years later. This is why the Mayans were so barbaric, cutting people's heads off and throwing virgins into pools and everything else, trying to get the rain to come back and get the gods to come back, because they weren't the ones that built this stuff. You can't have a person that's as barbaric and cutting heads off and doing these human sacrifices and at the same time have all the technology to build these type of structures. They weren't at that level. And then several hundred years after the Mayans, the Aztecs had a volcano blow up in their valley and destroy their entire civilization. They ended up, the ones that survived, ended up migrating and stumbled across these pyramids at Teotihuacan and in Chichen Itza and everywhere else, and then started inhabiting them as well. Again, a very premature culture that didn't have the technology to create any of this stuff, and kind of just inherited it. Just like the modern dynastic Egyptian era, they inherited what was already there as well. So this is what you find. You find us consistently across the board civilizations of people that literally inherited something that was already there. It had been built many, many years before.
The pyramid at Tulum will move on after the break, but the pyramid at Tulum, you've been to Giza. When you stand next to this, the size and everything is nearly as impressive as the Giza Plateau. Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt. Oh, yeah, it's phenomenal. And it's beautiful architecture. I mean, it really, it's unbelievable, man. It's something that you can't, even the photos don't truly capture how glorious it is until you get there with your own eyes. Right. And it's massive, man. A lot of this stuff is really massive, and it goes very deep underground. And what you find is that some of these structures are built on previous temples that are even deeper underground. That's right. And we really don't know. Yeah, I had read, we're going to take a break right here. I had read some are 3, 4, 5 pyramids deep, right? Exactly. Layered, built on top of the previous pyramid. Correct. Some even 8. 8. Like the one in Teotihuacan, the Pyramid of the Moon is 8. Right. And some of the ones, the Kukulkan Pyramid, they're all built over, 6. They're built on top of each other multiple times. And there's one other aspect for me which really stands out. The pyramids at Giza are pyramids. These are artistically and aesthetically done. Right? I mean, it's all about being beautiful, too, as well. You have the pyramid structure, but it's all the intricate stonework that makes them just so beautiful to look at. Right. Exactly. And they really, it's all about this one. These were, I guess you want to call it decorated or, artistically created versus the other ones, which seem to me a little more like stone computers. And had a lot more of a typical specific function, where these had more archetypal type functions as well as the way they looked. Yeah, aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Let's take a break right here, Billy, and we'll pick all of this up when we come back. Our guest tonight, Billy Carson, Forbidden Knowledge. Just got back from Mexico. Unbelievable photographs, too, that he has got out there on the net. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Billy right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out! That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. Dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers, and you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Billy Carson. The segment of Fade to Black is proudly brought to you by River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Right now, they have a special 20% off of all of their offerings. Use the promo code Coffee Break. 2 words, Coffee Break. Billy. Billy. Oh, man. Okay, we won't go there, but I just had to do it. The construction of this. Now, you bring up one of the points that it's mentioned so often, which is you can't. These rocks have not budged. They have not moved. The construction is perfect, and you cannot pass anything through them. Razor blade, credit card, human hair. We've heard these comparisons in the past. But when you go up and you're looking at this and you're starting to analyze, how did they get it done? Where did the technology come from? Today, if you went, Billy, you go to a granite quarry today, and you just go up and you go, okay, dudes, I want this built in my backyard. And this is what I want, and you can't pass a credit card through them, right?
No mortar.
Yeah, no mortar. And I want this to last a couple of thousand years, okay? Yeah. They would say they can't do it, right? Or they would say, why? Why would you, it's so much easier to do. We just, that's where I start to really trip out. So how do you think they got it done?
Well, I believe that this most likely was done using anti-gravity technology, most likely a frequency anti-gravity. To carve these stones, there could be one of 2 methods that they could have used. One is obviously getting some of the stones from quarries, most likely using some type of advanced cutting technique, because these stones they fit together so tightly, you have to almost know where every single one's going to drop. Or the only other way is that these stones were taken from a quarry, then liquefied, and then poured into place. That's another potential option that you have, where the stones have been liquefied and poured and then set in some type of advanced, maybe laser guided mold system. And then the third option that I would say would be something that Thoth talks about in the Emerald Tablets, manifesting physical matter from frequencies and vibration right out of the ether, which scientists just learned how to do. And I talk about it in the book, Manifest. We just finally did it a couple of months ago, manifested matter from light waves. So I guess they were reading the book as well, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, because now we're trying to duplicate it.
High technology. High technology.
Very high.
The other part is you just visited Coral Castle.
Yeah.
So what did you find out from Coral Castle? Let's talk about that because the two actually go together. Coral Castle, that construction could apply to nearly every megalithic structure on this planet. What did you find out at Coral Castle?
Well, Edward Leedskalnin was the guy's name, a very small, petite guy. I mean, this man was about 5'6". I think he weighed about 100 pounds or 110 pounds. And he literally carved out these massive blocks of coral down in Miami, Florida, and maneuvered them into place all by himself with no help, and created this mini castle and this outside courtyard area and everything else, which is it's unbelievable. It's a beautiful piece of work of art that he did. But he said that he had tapped into the secrets of the ancient Egyptians. This was his own words. His family was a line of brick masons out of Europe, and I guess the secrets of this were passed down to him. Now, where it becomes interesting is there's a Sumerian cylinder scroll that shows an Anunnaki god sitting on a throne. You know he's the god because you can tell by his size. And he's sitting on top of this box. And this box has two lions, one facing left and one facing right. And then he's got this this stand that almost looks like it could be a tripod coming up above these other three gentlemen. And there's a disc there with rays coming out of or showing on the disc in a specific pattern. But I've now finalized or realized that disc is actually showing a frequency range because I've been able to find the exact frequency that creates that exact same pattern. And then you have the three gentlemen that are there that are standing in front of this Anunnaki god, and two of them are whistling, and one of them has his hand on this stone table that he's lifting with one hand. So the frequency is lightening the weight of this stone table. So this Anunnaki god in this cylinder scroll is teaching these human beings how to create anti-gravity. And I believe that the box that he's sitting on is most likely something that has to do with magnetic frequency or positive, negative, being that one of the images is facing left, one is facing right. And now when you go to Edward Leedskalnin's little tool shed, you see a tripod that had a black box at the top, and he had another thing at the bottom, which was a wheel with a handle that had magnets all around it. He would crank this wheel around and create a magnetic field, kind of like what I think the Anunnaki god was sitting on. And then he was always heard whistling when he was moving these giant coral slabs. So between the whistling and the magnetic field and the frequency from the box somehow creates anti-gravity in the stone and allows the weight to be greatly lessened so that it can be picked up and maneuvered into place.
That knowledge right there, do you think that it was spread to other cultures around the world and made its way over into Central and South America?
Oh, no doubt about it, because when you go back into some of the oldest texts, which would be the Mahabharata and the Emerald Tablets, for example, in the Emerald Tablets, Thoth is told to go to the land of Chem after the Great Flood. So he goes to the land of Chem. This is about 36,000 years ago. This is probably one of the first floods. It's most likely we had two great floods. He goes there and to help bring people back into a high level of civilization. After they get the civilization going there, it's then stated that he's told by the ruler, which is Enki, I believe his father most likely. He's then told to spread this same architecture all over the planet. So Thoth tells his crew that came there with him you go this way, you go this way, you go this way. So these crew members, they went around the planet and kickstarted civilizations all over the planet. And that's why no matter where you go, you see the same exact type of architecture, the same symbols with just different aesthetic looks to them, but primarily pretty much the same. So, and even Thoth is told at one point to go to Mesoamerica and kickstart civilization there. So you have the same, what we see is the same architect, the same architectural plans are spread out all over this planet. No matter where you go, you see pyramid structures, you see temple structures that are very similar, you see megalithic structures, and they all have one thing in common. There's no mortar. It looks like the stones and rocks are melted together. You can't fit anything between them. And they are built to withstand earthquakes and last for tens of thousands of years. The next thing you see is that when you go and look at some of these moon images, you see pyramids on the moon, pyramids on Mars, pyramids on Mercury. And now you got to scratch your head and say, okay, wait a minute. how can there be these similar structures not only on Earth, not only around the entire planet, but also on other moons and planets in our solar system? One moon, Titan, there's pyramids on Titan. So all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, there's this architect has spread throughout this entire solar system, not just Earth. So it's the same people. These advanced beings are not gods. They're not creators of the universe. They're flesh and blood people. They just have technology. That's all it is. Their technology is better than, I think they're probably 1 million years ahead of us.
In Tulum, did you have a tour guide?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay. What kind of, just for laughs, what kind of BS was he feeding you? Where did he, how did they transport the stones from the quarry?
He didn't really have an exact answer for how they got the stones there, but he was really preaching that the Mayans built all these advanced structures, and I was a little taken back because the last couple of times I had been to Mexico and to view some of, like in Teotihuacan, I had a homegrown archaeologist from there, just like this guy was, but he was telling us the truth in terms of the time frames, and even gave us a scale, a chart, a scientific chart from the local museum that showed when the Mayans actually arrived. But this guy was, unfortunately, I think he just wasn't educated enough. He really thought that these people had built these structures and so forth and so on, and were great astronomers and everything else. But he just really didn't know. He's just regurgitating information he was given from a book.
Right, and and tourists, they just listen.
Yeah, exactly.
And now, what about the construction? Did he tell you how they did that?
He said, it took 25 years, and putting all the blocks in place. The typical, the typical stuff. King would order it to be built, and it would take his lifetime to get it done, and all this other. I mean, it was just ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I mean, nobody's gonna. It's going to take 25, 30 years to build a pyramid. They didn't even live that long, except some of these people.
Right.
You don't even know if it's going to even be completed.
What was the orientation of the pyramid at Tulum?
The pyramid at Tulum was facing due west, orientated due west. And the main one was set to the cardinal points, north, south, east, and west. Just like the pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza is also set to the cardinal points. So they really whoever built them had a great understanding of cardinal points. And what's really interesting about the pyramid of Kukulkan is that the way it's set up with the steps and everything going up, it gives away its actual latitude. Now that's incredible. I mean, you have to really know the planet's dimensions. You have to know the heights. You have to have the planet broken down into grids already, because the latitude of the pyramid of Kukulkan is 20 degrees by 40 by 58.44 north.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take that and add all those numbers together, you get 46,752. Well, if you count the steps, there's the steps going up. I believe there's 91 steps on each side of the pyramid on 4 sides, which gives you, plus the top step, which gives you 365 days in a year.
Right.
Now, when you take that and multiply it by the 4 sides and the 4 staircases, which just makes it to 8 because it's broken down to 8 pieces. So you multiply the 4 times 4 times 8 by the 365.25, which is really the full year, you get 46,752. So it gives away its own latitude. So this again is showing high technology, high knowledge of the dimensions of the Earth, longitude, latitudes. It's just degrees. It's unbelievable, man, how the knowledge that they had. They're very advanced people built this structure and these structures, not people that were running around cutting people's heads off to make the gods come back and throwing virgins inside of wells.
Right. How level is it?
Oh, it's perfectly level. That's another thing. It's perfectly level, and it's still perfectly level to this very day. It's rock solid. I mean, the pyramid is built to last. It'll stand there for another 25, 30, 40, unless something comes and literally hits it and strikes it and blows it up. I don't believe there's anything that can destroy this pyramid. The temple on top of it has something called a triptych. That's where you have the 3 windows, 2 thinner windows and 1 slightly larger window in the middle. This triptych type of architecture can be found all over the world. It's pyramids in Asia, Africa, and even down there in the Yucatan. Churches have pretty much copied this triptych style. Where if you look at these giant cathedrals, they always have 2 smaller windows and then 1 larger one in the middle. So they knew, the brick masons who built a lot of these cathedrals knew about this triptych design from from ancient times that had been passed along. Again, the same architectural design has made it all the way into the modern era. And as well as when you look at the picture of the most famous picture of all, which is the Last Supper, in back of the disciples and Jesus, there's a triptych window in the back, 2 smaller windows and 1 larger one, just like the one at the top of the Pyramid of Kukulkan,
right,
in Mesoamerica. So you see this triptych design is passed through many, many ages and through many, many cultures.
Yeah, Richard Casaro, who does a lot of great research into this, when you look at his collection of triptych doorways or entrances, I don't think that there is a culture on this planet, on any continent, that didn't have the exact same design.
Correct. I mean, that's evidence of the same architect, or at least the same architectural plans being spread out all over the planet. It came from one source. I mean, you can literally, if we were CSI agents, and we had to figure out who, if the pyramids were a crime, and we had to figure out, who built them. This is the fingerprint. The fingerprint is this design work and this architectural work. It all has to go back to one person or one group of people, and I think that the evidence definitely is overwhelming that all of these structures and all this design work came from one original source.
Man, El Castillo is just crazy.
Yeah.
Just nuts.
Oh man.
And I know, and it's beautiful beyond words. How much of El Castillo are you allowed to explore?
Very little of it, because now 20 years ago it was a lot easier. I actually have a picture of myself there 20 years ago, which I saw on my Facebook page somewhere, and I was able to go to the back and go up inside a little bit. You couldn't go up to the top because it was still very, considered very dangerous. But this time I couldn't go inside at all. I can only stand out front. But I got, a couple of really nice pictures and some video. But again, it's incredible because it's just like, everything that we have now, we see now, like you say, we can't duplicate this stuff. We can't build it. We can't replicate it. These people had the ability to look at the stars. I believe that most likely they did have some type of apparatus at the top that was able to track these star movements, because they were able to track the star movements and create these cycles of life, which were, the biggest one was, we came to recently was 2012, when everybody thought it was the end of the world, when it was really just the end of a cycle. Mm-hmm. Nobody, the Mayans and nobody ever said it was the end of the world. They always said it was the end of a cycle. But all this stuff was tracked in these long-term cycles, and etched into stone and these glyphs that they use. It's all the evidence is all around us. I mean, all one person has to do is open their eyes and just look at it and say, "Wow, this is evidence of high culture." I mean, there's no way that we can duplicate this stuff today. A lot of people that we know right now, if we just grown-ups can't duplicate this. I mean, unless they've studied it. This is something that would have taken, in ancient times, you'd have to be a specialist in this type of stuff to even accomplish it. And there's people today on this planet right now that couldn't do any of this stuff.
And what about some of the small, like the Temple of Frescoes? Are you able to enter that?
You can't enter them. They have them roped off.
Oh,
they have
man.
You can't go in them anymore, man. I mean, it's so restricted now, very restricted. But all you can do is stand out front and take a lot of photos and videos of them. But man, just unbelievable detail work, man. Just unbelievable.
And one last question, and then I want to move on. You went to Chichen Itza next, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Is that these temples have all stood the test of time? We've had natural disasters and earthquakes and fires and war and everything out where everything has crumbled. Mm-hmm. Everything has been rebuilt and rebuilt. these megalithic structures and temples are still standing today, level, right? And how is that possible? I mean,
they really had a good understanding.
I'm being I'm being very, very serious about this.
Yeah.
You know, my own home, right, built 15 years ago, settles. It changes. Yeah. And I can tell you right now, it ain't level. It ain't level to nothing. And it's a new house, right?
Yeah.
Everything, the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid has not shifted. Right? None of these, the Temple of the Sun, Temple of the Moon, Chichen Itza, Tulum, nothing has shifted. Nothing has moved. How is that possible?
They really had a great understanding of how to build a foundation.
That's it.
One of the things that people don't realize is, a lot of people don't realize, maybe they don't know, but is that underneath these pyramids and these megalithic structures and these temples are foundations that sometimes go down, as far as a mile.
And that is the point that needs to be driven home.
Right.
You look at it, you can see the temple, and I understand what people see. You have to think about the knowledge and the engineering that is underneath those temples, because they haven't shifted, they haven't moved, they're not leaning to one side. Leaning Tower of Pisa, that's right. Right? Yeah. But yet older cultures that weren't supposed to be as bright, those temples are perfect today.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of the foundation. The foundation. When we look at, we can go back to Giza and visit this idea really quick. No matter what you want to think about the Great Pyramid, no matter what you want to go, it doesn't matter to me. That foundation was leveled, stones were brought in, were quarried, were leveled, were put into place to hold that thing up for 10,000 years.
Yep.
That is what is most impressive about the Great Pyramid or any of these temple sites. It's the foundation. That engineering and that intelligence is extraordinary. And that's exactly what I needed you to point out. It needs to be driven home. Most people don't understand. They don't look, they see the temple. It's the foundation underneath it that is the reason why we can still see it today.
Absolutely. I mean, even underneath the Great Pyramid, it's built in multi-layers. So you have the top foundation that the stones are laying on top of. Then, I don't know how many dozens of feet below that. Then you have an aquifer that comes up in there. But below that, then you have several hundred rooms that they've discovered now. So the halls of Amenti literally do exist. And then below the halls of Amenti, you have more structures and more special type of entrances and man-made structures and caves and tunnels and everything else. And then below that, you have even more. It just keeps on going. It's so complex underneath the Great Pyramid. Tunnels for tunnels and tunnels. It's just incredible. So like I say, as far as a mile deep, there's structures underneath the Great Pyramid. It's not just what you see on top. And for the same thing in Chichen Itza, you have these massive temples and these pyramids built on top of other temples and pyramids, and those go down many, many feet. And underneath them, there's other foundations and so forth. So you have foundations and a temple, then a foundation, then a temple. It's just incredible that we're even able to do this. And one of the most amazing structures there at Chichen Itza, to me, is El Caracol, which to me was an ancient observatory, because it perfectly mimics. I put a picture up on my OnStellar page. Perfectly mimics a modern day observatory. I put it on the left side. I put from 600 AD is when they're saying this thing was built. I think it was built long before then, but 600 AD, you got El Caracol, the ancient observatory in the Yucatan Peninsula, Chichen Itza. And on the right side, 2010, is a modern day observatory. They're virtually almost identical in terms of the way they look, the way they're shaped, and even the stairs coming out the front. So it looks like we probably copied what the ancients did, in my personal opinion. But the structure has been through earthquakes, it's been through hurricanes, it's been through everything you can think of, and it's still standing. And it literally was an ancient observatory. I mean, this is one of the most incredible things to me that's out there that hardly anybody hears about.
Yeah, I'm looking at the picture now with you in front of it, and it's identical.
Yeah,
the stairs, the doors, the shape, of course, the roof. The observatory top. But once you see it side by side, that's kind of hard to deny.
Yeah,
that's really well done. Check you out in your cargo shorts. We're going to take a break right here. Now, Billy, when we come back, we're going to talk about Chichen Itza, which I have a video here. I wanted to know, I have a video that a friend of mine shot there last year with a drone, a high-def drone shot. And he was staying next to Chichen Itza in the condominiums, about a quarter mile away. Where did you stay?
I stayed at the Secrets Resort at Maya. It was a Maya something. It was a resort, an all-inclusive resort that was probably about an hour away.
Oh, an hour away. How many people were in Tulum? How many tourists were there when you were there?
There were probably about 200 tourists there total when I was there.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
And what about Chichen Itza? Because the video that I have, there isn't a person at Chichen Itza when this video is shot.
It wasn't that many. It couldn't have been more than a couple of hundred, or maybe even less than that for whatever reason. I'm not sure, but it wasn't that many.
No, and when you think about how big the complex is and the area, and you think about 200 people, it must have felt like it was empty.
Yeah, I think there were more vendors than people, to be honest with you,
so
trying to sell goods.
Which means you get to kind of do your own thing, right?
Oh, yeah. We were free to roam and everything else after the tour and check places out and, go around and stuff. It was pretty cool. And the only people that really slowed us down a little bit were the vendors, trying to get you to buy something. Other than that, you were free to roam around and take photos and do what you wanted.
We'll be right back with our guest tonight, Billy Carson. This is Fade to Black. Forbidden knowledge goes to Central America. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. And last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously. Go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Billy Carson, Forbidden Knowledge. Next, we're going to Chichen Itza. This segment of Fade to Black is proudly brought to you by Ancient Life Oil. The best CBD on the planet. Best prices, too, as well. AncientLifeOil.com. The banners are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Billy. So, during the break, I was looking at my friend's Chichen Itza video. I wish I could post it. I just don't have the permission. But you were just there, so you probably know where he shot this. But the drone is sitting on his patio. Camera's live, right? And it just takes off. It's this patio, and it's a grass-covered condo bungalow. Really nice, right? Anyway, so it takes off and it rises up above the tree, and now I was wondering how close he was, because that's the name of the video, right? So anyway, and it just rises up about 10 feet, and then right in the background you see the top of the pyramid in the trees. You're like, wait, what? He's that close, right? And it just rises up, and you can see the road. It's like a golf cart track or path, and it just cuts through the trees and goes straight to the pyramid. And it just rises up, and then you see the whole complex, and it's it's a quarter mile, I think is actually too far. That's how close. But anyway, what's impressive about it is as it rises up, you see the size of this complex. It is huge. You see the observatory and the orientation of everything and how it is sitting there. It's an incredible sight, and I'm sorry, but I will just disagree with what historians are trying to say about this site. This is complex. It is high technology, and it is about as impressive as any site on planet Earth.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt about it. I mean, you had mentioned El Castillo earlier, which is really the temple of Kukulkan, and I mean, a lot of people don't know that like we talked about building on top of pyramids on top of pyramids, it actually is a pyramid that's built on top of an older temple. So the El Castillo, or the pyramid of Temple of Kukulkan, if you want to call it, is built on top of another structure. I mean, so it's a multi-faceted structure, a multi-layered structure. That's just amazing stuff. And I guess it's a solstice. The solstice is when it actually has the snake that runs down the side.
Right.
So the alignment has to be absolutely perfect for that to happen, for that snake image or that shadow to ride down the side of that the staircase. And that symbolizes the fact that they're saying that Kukulkan, who's also Quetzalcoatl, who's also Thoth, many names for this same person, arrived on a flying serpent. All this symbolism is to honor, this god, or this man god, or whatever you want to call it, that basically brought them to technology. So it's really amazing, man. It's amazing stuff.
Let's talk about that serpent for a second, because the serpent head, the shadow, and how the stairs line up on solstice, that's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And remember, that had to be designed and thought through. And it's you just don't build it and go, oh wow, check it out. It's a certain. No, it was done. It was done and thought through. But
right,
there's a dragon head. There's multiple dragon heads there. But the same thing in China, the same thing in Europe. It's around the world. Japan, dragon heads. Where do you think either there were dragons and they just were recreating them, but they look visually the same with all of these other cultures? Is it symbolism? How did this transoceanic information happen where they're all, portraying and preserving the image of dragons? Or are these cultures much older and were dragons, I'm not reaching here. Yeah. Were dragons real and part of what they were living every day with?
It's possible that they were real, but I tend to always bend toward technology. And ancient peoples always used animals as symbols of what they would see that we would now know is advanced technology. And I believe that the symbol of the dragon goes back to some type of a craft that most likely had exhaust coming out of it. And they automatically would consider this a dragon. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I lean to. I lean more towards technology, and I believe that this dragon symbolism is their way of saying this particular entity used to fly in a flying dragon, which in modern terms would be an airplane or a rocket, or, a jet, any one of these many types of modes of transportation. They saw fire coming out of it, which gave them the dragon.
And they were all seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
When you would have a hard time if you were looking at just photographs of different dragons in sculpture of these megalithic spots around the world, you would have a hard time knowing which culture actually did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because they're so close. They're so identical.
Oh, yeah. Indonesia. I mean, no matter where you go, you find it. I mean, it's incredible.
Yes. Now, Chichen Itza. Okay. First impressions.
Well, the first impression that I got was that the designer, we kind of really touched on it a little earlier, was very interested in making it very aesthetically beautiful. And, if you kind of just close your eyes and kind of go back in time and try to envision the compound when it was in its prime, you can see that it was probably a real glorious place to live and be around. And I guess when these god people would show up, like Kukulkan and some of these other, people who were considered to be gods, the people worshiped there, and they came to praise them and bring offerings and everything else. But when you go back in your mind and you can just envision the compound, you really can see that it was a really glorious place, and it was aesthetically beautiful, probably one of the more beautiful places, at the time on the planet, just by the way it's set up and the way it looks.
Before we get to the pyramid, let's talk about the Temple of Warriors.
Okay.
I think the pyramid is cool, right?
Yeah.
The Temple of Warriors how impressive is that?
Oh man, it's incredible. It's a beautiful piece of work, and it's very similar to the temple. I mean, to it's the Pyramid of Kukulkan, which is I was there. It's in hold on a second, I'll tell you. Tula. It's in Tula, Mexico. I went to Tula, Mexico, to look at the Pyramid of Kukulkan. I mean, the Pyramid of Quetzalcoatl, and the Pyramid of Quetzalcoatl in Tula is extremely close to what you see here, the Temple of Warriors in Chichen Itza. I mean, very, very, very. In fact, I'm going to make a side. I'm glad you brought it up, because I'm going to make a side-by-side image. And I was able to climb the one in Tula, but not the one at Chichen Itza, unfortunately. But it's very similar. And there's actually a doorway, which is one of those stone doorways that's supposedly one of those doorways that you stand in and you disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's one here, and there's also one at the one in Tula, Mexico, as well. So that's I found that to be very, very interesting. And the one in Tula, Mexico, they talked about the archaeologist that toured us talked about the fact that Thoth had to go to war, and he would take the skulls of the people that were killed that were for good, and he would take them to that doorway, stand in it, disappear, and recycle their souls back into basically reincarnation.
A portal.
A portal. He would go to this portal. Correct. Yeah. And there's also a portal at this Temple of Warriors as well. So,
did you stand in it?
that couldn't get close because they had it roped off with chains and everything.
Man. What? Do what I do. Cross the rope. Just lift it up and walk. What are they going to do, man?
Yeah, I know. What could they do? Now, the one in Tula, I was able to go stand in the doorway and get some cool pictures. That was pretty cool, but I couldn't get to this one. But the Temple of Warriors, man, what an awesome sight to see. It's a real amazing structure. And another thing that's amazing about it, it's built on top of another structure. So this is not even close to the top. This is actually just a cap top of it. There's way more beneath the ground, way more.
The columns, right? Mm-hmm. The warriors, whatever you want to. Was that? Do you think that was roofed?
It's possible that it was there. Kind of like how you go to an outdoor park and you have columns up, and so the kids can play outside without getting burned from the sun.
It reminds me of Luxor.
Yes, it sure does. Absolutely. Yeah.
Most
likely it was.
How many columns do you think are here at the Temple of Warriors? I mean, it's in the hundreds for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely in the hundreds. There were a lot of columns. I didn't get the exact number. That's one thing that I didn't get. But there are a lot of columns. I mean, it's in the hundreds, and they go around the structure. It's an amazing sight to see, man, how they got this here. These columns are massive. Each one of these columns, I mean, you just think about just moving the columns alone.
Right.
And think about this, the fact that those columns are not at the bottom of the pyramid like they look. If you look online, if you go there, you say, oh, well, they're right here on the base. No, that's not the base. And back in the day, that still was close to the top. There's much more beneath the ground there that goes all the way down. Who knows how many kilometers? But it's a massive structure beneath the ground underneath this the top that's only protruding out of the earth right here.
Yeah, and it's so impressive that where you have hundreds and hundreds of columns, and they're massive, and they're perfectly orientated today. But through all of this time, 1,400 years, allegedly. 1,400, it could be much older. But 1,400 years, and they're still standing. Perfect.
Yep. And they're called Toltec warriors, which are the same name for the ones in Tula, the same columns in Tula, which I took some great pictures next to. They're also called Toltec warriors as well. So you see the same thing, here and there. It's the same people, the same names. It's just incredible, man. The story of the Chichen Itza and these regions down there in the Yucatan going down into South America has not really been fully told, or exposed as much as I think the world should really hear it and go there. And this is a place that people can go to relatively easy and experience some of this ancient culture firsthand and, get very close to see these things with their own eyes. And I'm telling you, when you see it with your own eyes, you get a total different feeling about what it is. And when you just see the sheer massive structure and how big it is, you say to yourself, man, how in the world? I mean, what I've been told in the books and school and everything else can't be true. You can clearly see that this is advanced technology. And the fact that some of the areas are partially dug up now over there at Chichen Itza, and I was able to get some 4K footage of some of the underground temples, or some of the temples, I should say, that were buried, whether it was on purpose or what, I can't tell. But to me, I'm thinking now that some of these were buried on purpose. I mean, the way that they're covered over, that massive amount of dirt, I just can't see it happening over a couple thousand years. That much dirt to cover these massive megalithic structures. I think they were buried on purpose.
I'm looking at it here, the orientation of everything. Take me through that. I'm looking at it in the satellite images, but I want to go through all of this. What is the orientation of the complex?
The complex is orientated toward the cardinal points. Which is, I guess, one of the reasons of why they do that is because they're always observing stars from any one of these locations. And they always want to have, I guess, a particular understanding of a particular point of view, whoever built these structures. So when they're looking at the equinox, the precession of the equinox, or monitoring the precession of the equinoxes, the way that the constellations move across the sky so that they can create these concepts of the cycles of man, is what they call them. They would know, no matter where they were, they'd be able to, okay, if I look this way, I'm going to be able to see these constellations from this angle, from this direction, I'm going to be able to see these constellations. And based on what year it is and so forth and so on. This should be at this particular degree in the sky. So it was very meticulously done. All these structures were very meticulously positioned so that they can always monitor the stars. They were heavy into star and astronomy, as well as the equinoxes. And this is what they used to make the long count calendar, which is not 365 days. It's a very long. I forget the total length of this calendar, but it's thousands of years. And then it starts back over again. So each one of those calendars is supposed to be the length of a world, and we're supposed to be headed into the fifth world now. So these cycles are guided by the stars, and it basically, in a way, prophesizes the rise and fall of civilizations over time. And it kind of like the Kali Yugas or the Yugas that the Indians talk about in India, they have the same type of a system here. Again, another similarity where these cycles of time happen and mankind kind of comes out of the caves, develops high level civilization, and at some point falls and has to start over again. And that's really what the this monitoring of these cycles and creating these cycles were all about.
I'm looking here, the way that it's laid out on Google Maps, it looks like it's about 15 degrees at an angle, the entire complex. Am I right in saying that?
It's possible. You're talking about the angle off the way that it's positioned, 15 off of north?
Yes.
Oh, it's very possible. I don't know if they get taken consideration the Earth's tilt. I don't know how they factored in true north at that time.
Well, there's off in the distance, and I've looked at this before. There's also another road, ancient road, off in the distance that's also at the same angle. And let me look at it here, 500 feet. So it's about 2,000 feet away. What is that? That's a quarter mile, right? Is that?
Yeah, that's about a quarter mile.
Yeah, and it's at this exact same angle. It's pretty interesting. I'm just wondering why. I just go with age.
It's possible. I mean, the north most eastern point, for example, is I'm just going through my notes here from when the guy was talking. It's tilted exactly 18 degrees from true north.
Right, 18. Okay, that's about right. Okay, I said 15.
Okay, right. Why is that? I have no idea. Now, here's some of the notes here. So let me see here. Calculations related to the sun and the length of the Mayan calendar year, such as 91 steps on each side of the pyramid, equaling the same number of stairs there are in the solar year. Okay, I knew that we had that already. This is in opposition to June 21st, the summer solstice, when the northern and eastern faces are in the sunlight for the longest period of time of the year. So the way that it's angled has something to do with the alignment of the solstices that happen on December 21st at 4:45 p.m. And the way that the sun is able to create the shadows. And I guess based on these alignments, they're able to they know the exact direction. I'm pretty sure they know exactly which degrees to look out of those windows that they have at the top to track exact true north, and also to track the star movements. But the illusion of the snake, the serpent coming down the side of El Castillo, has to have this angle.
Man, El Castillo is just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, the more, every time that I look at it, it is so impressive. And we're so used to Giza, right? And I get that. But you look at El Castillo, and it takes this pyramid construction and technique and engineering to a whole nother level. But we are talking about a part of the world and culture that wasn't supposed to be like this and this advanced. We know now about not only the Mayan culture, but the Incas and the high technology that so many had in Central and South America. But this is incredible.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I don't even know where my mind is going with this, but every time that I see this, it suggests to me the high technology, but also why the pyramid? Why were pyramids built in China like they were? Why were they built here? Why were they built in Giza? Why the pyramid structure and form? And who taught them how to do this? It seems like it was one point source of information, and this needs to get done. I don't, unless it was instructions in our DNA, somebody else was teaching them what to do.
Yeah, you definitely had a teacher here. And by the way, just to make one correction, the autumn equinox is when the shadow comes down on Kukulkan or El Castillo, and that's actually on September 22nd. I just want to make sure we had that correction in there. So September 22nd is when the alignment occurs that allows that that shadow to come down the side of the staircase on El Castillo.
What's the height of El Castillo?
The height, I didn't have that in my notes here, but man, it's big. I could probably look it up real quick, but it's a lot bigger than people think, because when you see it, you go, okay, it's a nice sized pyramid, but that thing is massive. Let's just look it up here real quick.
It's pretty crazy. Okay, now I wanted to get back to the coordinates here. What are the coordinates of El Castillo?
The coordinates, let me go back to my coordinate image that I had here. The latitude of the pyramid of Kukulkan or El Castillo is 20 degrees by 40 at 58.44 degrees north. So it's that's the latitude. So if you were to type that latitude into Google Earth or whatever, it should take you right to the same latitude of the pyramid of Kukulkan. The longitude obviously is not there. There's no longitude. So you'd be on the latitude. You'd have to find the longitude to actually zoom in on it. But the fact that they were able to calculate the latitude or program the latitude into the staircase, and the staircase, the 4 staircases, the step at the top, and the way that they constructed it to make it multiply together and add up to the latitude number is incredible. That's advanced thinking. You have to think this type of stuff out in advance. You can't just say, okay, let's just make this work and we'll figure it out at the end. This is advanced planning. First of all, you have to have an understanding of latitude and longitudes. In order to get that, you have to have mapped the entire planet to get the correct the mathematics for the longitude and latitude, the degrees for the longitude and latitudes. And then you have to have an understanding of where to put a structure and how to make it align with that, but also how to make the dimensions of the structure reach the exact height. So you have to, that way you can program in how tall the bricks or all the stones are going to be by the time you get to the top peak of the pyramid. I mean, this takes a lot of advanced planning. You can't just start off and go, okay, well, it'll work. You have to really advance plan it. And that means every single stone that's put into this pyramid has to be pre-thought and pre-measured before it's put into place so that it can come up to the exact height that it needs to be to make it fulfill this numerical magic that they want to showcase to everybody, you know. And
here's the closer on all of that. The engineering and the magic math and the astronomy, all of that has to lay out absolutely. When you get to that top step, everything has got to be correct. I absolutely understand it. And then they turn around and make it look good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, you understand what I'm saying? Because all of the formations on the outside going up the side of the pyramid and the steps too as well. Mm-hmm. But all of that, it has to be designed and put into the design without apparently no written language or numbering system for the engineering. No T-squares, no engineering tables, no massive rooms full of engineers, which is what it would take today. You would have to have an engineering department with multitudes of different divisions. You know, you've got somebody working on the foundation. You have the artist and those guys over there in the art group that are doing that. You have everything, but that apparently history wants to tell us that they didn't have all of that. Well, then how did they get it done? Exactly. Somebody just tell me. And they got the 3 doors at the top, too, as well.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I think my personal opinion of how this was built was the first, you have probably a probe or satellite that goes up, whether you do it in your own ship or you use a probe or satellite,
right?
To probably a North Pole orbit, scans the planet like we do these days and gives us a complete grid of the planet. So we know the height of the seas, the height of the average land, height of the average land mass. We know all the information we need to know in terms of data. In other words, where to drop the structures at. And then you take all that information from the satellite or your ship, from the scan, and you put it into a computer program. And this advanced computer program, you would then put in some things that you'd like to hide in the brick masonry, like longitude, latitudes, dimensions of the planet, the days of the year, the solstices, tropical years, sidereal years, all these types of things you want to have revealed within the geometry of the structure itself. And then once you put all those queries into this software program, this advanced program, it then spits out an architectural layout for you, and it tells you everything you need to know to build this structure with all this stuff encoded in it. And then from there, it's just a matter of directing people to put the stuff, in the right position. In terms of querying the blocks, either you manifest the blocks from the ether, or you actually query these blocks. In my personal opinion, because there's no mortar and the way that they fit together, I'm more leaning towards the idea that they may have been liquefied stone and then poured into place through some type of advanced laser-guided mold system, and then hardened in a very rapid way, or I guess I don't know the exact term you use to harden stone or concrete, but you kind of, when you make a sidewalk, it ages over the course of a few days and it gets hard. So that probably would be the technique that I'm thinking in my mind would probably work the best to create structures like this, and very quickly. Versus 20 and 30 years and all this other crazy stuff that we hear about.
Well, yeah, carving and quarrying and chiseling stones to fit, and you got to think of like Cusco too as well. The same problems are there to get these asymmetrical designs to fit together, and you're carving them and chiseling them. It doesn't make any sense. And when you look at the precise fitting of all of this, if they were pouring it, and I know that it seems like a reach for most. And when I first heard about that theory and that idea, I kind of blew it off. But the more that you think about it, if you're pouring these stones on site and you're not carving them, you're not quarrying them, you're not chiseling, and you take that element out and you are pouring them to fit, Now we're actually getting somewhere. There may be something more to that, Billy. I wish that we could figure it out. We'll be right back. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Forbidden Knowledge, Billy Carson. Now, when we do return, we're going to talk about El Caracol, the observatory. It's amazing. It's Fade to Black. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
What can I say about the most popular tea on the internet? And what do customers say about Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com? A lot. But by federal law, we at GetTheTea.com cannot make claims to how this product can enhance your health. We cannot even post our testimonies without being in compliance. So how do we get past the hump? Try our products at GetTheTea.com and see for yourself. You can send us a testimony, but we just can't post it. Bummer. Our products are GMO-free and organic. We pride ourselves in being the best we can be, and we urge you to take charge of your health. We're 11 years strong, and many of our customers have shared their successes with friends and family. Protect your colon. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. GetTheTea.com. GetTheTea.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn
it. This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This segment of Fade to Black is proudly brought to you by Numana Food Storage. Yeah, click on the links over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Click on those banners. Use the promo code Jimmy10. Jimmy10 will get you 10% off. It's going to get you free shipping. It's going to get you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Every order over $100, Fade to Black t-shirt autographed. Everything is right there. Just click on the Numana banners over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Now, Billy, this the temple, El Caracol, which is really funny that I think everybody was reticent to call it an observatory. I have always, the first time when I was a kid, right, and I saw it, it's like, well, that's an observatory. That looks like everything else. And now recently they've made these alignments to Venus with the staircase. So clearly, the Mayans built an observatory at Chichen Itza, and it's right there, and it suggests nothing else but an advanced civilization with high technology, and there isn't another way to look at it.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up about Venus, because I almost forgot to mention that earlier, that a lot of the structures are set up to worship or honor Venus, which is really amazing because, as you know, we talked about on the previous show, I believe, if it wasn't here, that there's structures on Venus that we discovered using the USGS radar imaging. So, I mean, does this mean that they knew about the civilization that was or maybe still is on Venus? Because there are structures and anomalies on the planet Venus that we've discovered through the United Family of Anomaly Hunters. And it was a pleasant surprise for me to learn something new, and the fact that the Mayans or the civilizations that lived out there knew about Venus. It's just really amazing. Also, Mercury as well, by the way, Mercury is also one of the other names for Thoth. He was called Mercury as well, one of his nicknames.
Right.
So it's just very interesting how they knew about these planets. Yes, I don't know, man. It's just, to me, it's just evidence of not even global civilization, of probably an interplanetary civilization.
Now, there's just as much going on underneath Chichen Itza as there is above. Did you tour the caves?
I didn't tour the caves this time. I did 20 years ago. This time they didn't have anybody that would let us go down there. Maybe if we had to get permission or notify them ahead of time, but it was kind of weird this time. It was almost kind of just a very mundane type of a setup where you couldn't really get to anything anymore, and everything was kind of roped off. You can only get in front of them, but you couldn't really go down inside. But I did 20 years ago.
What did you see 20 years ago?
Well, they have a cave system that goes down there, kind of almost reminiscent to me of the one that is at Teotihuacan, where you have the interconnecting caves or tunnels that connect the structures that are out there. These look a little bit more dilapidated and a little bit more crumbled, but it almost seems as if they would connect to the different temples and structures that are there.
Well, they also found, I remember, they found a false wall. They just thought it was a cave complex, and they get through that, and then it just opened up into a huge another cave system that was, full of artifacts and sculpture and artwork, and there's stairs and pathways, and it was hidden forever. They found a false wall and went through that. There's so much more down there.
Yeah, that false wall that supposedly it's the entrance to Xibalba, I think they called it.
Right.
Xibalba or something like that, where it's the underworld, where souls go and so forth and so on. But I think that's what the Mayans called it. But what the real purpose of it could have been another Halls of Amenti,
Right.
Where they have these. I'm pretty sure if they found those regeneration chambers, they wouldn't tell us about it. They'd probably take them and put them in some type of laboratory somewhere. But it's very likely there could have been also that these advanced people would like to live underground in these hidden areas for protection, number one, and also to stay out of sight at certain times or whatever. You're not going to, if you're an advanced being with advanced technology, you're not going to live above ground in a hut or a shack. You're going to probably live somewhere in a fortress, and I think that's what kind of these things were. But they were interconnected, I believe, as well. I believe that they connect to the other areas. So to allow a person or an entity to walk from one area to another without ever being seen.
Now, what do you think is still hidden in these jungles with the recent LiDAR and radar and ground imaging that was released last year? Yeah. Now we're looking at, it's not what we thought, that this is huge. The highways go on for miles. Everything was interconnected. And there isn't a few temples, but hundreds of possibly thousands going from the Pacific to the Atlantic.
Yeah, there's thousands, maybe tens of thousands. And the LiDAR and all these other new technologies that we have now are showing deep in the jungle areas, man, where trees and everything else have kind of taken over, that there's still structures everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere. And when I was in Teotihuacan, the guy told me that every single one of these hills, he said, you see all these hills? Every time you see a hill, at the top of that hill, there's a church. I go, yeah, I noticed all these churches. Every single where you look, there's a church on the hill. He says, those aren't hills, those are pyramids. The Spaniards blew off the top of the pyramids, leveled it off, and put a church on top. But if you dig beneath the hill, you'll discover each one of those hills are pyramids. And I'm talking about there were literally hundreds just in the area that we drove through.
It's incredible. And why is it I'm glad that you're talking about this, and I do the best that I can with this program. Yeah. But why is it, Billy, that Central and South America and North America it's like the redheaded stepchild of history and archaeology.
Yeah, I know. It's so bizarre. Those people were so taken advantage of. I mean, you hear a lot about the African slave trade and so forth. You hear about that stuff, but the indigenous people from the Americas were really abused greatly and taken advantage of. I think mostly because they probably had thought that these gods had came back. I think that's really what tricked them. They really thought that all these sacrifices and everything else they were doing brought back the gods. And I think that when these people showed up, obviously they weren't gods, and they really took advantage of that. Though they masqueraded probably as gods or kings or rulers or whatever, and then they obviously systematically took down these people, killed a lot of them, and stole a lot of their goods and their gold and everything else. And then went about basically destroying any evidence of what their true history was about, and putting their history on top.
Yeah, and I don't understand that because Napoleon goes to Egypt. It's the greatest trip that he's ever made in his life, right? And it's respect, and he's trying to. And the same thing with the Far East. And research missions and going into Africa and South Africa, but not here.
Yeah,
it was the opposite. The Spanish arrive and they just wanted to knock everything down. There was no respect of the ancient history that was here, and it continues to this day. Everybody is fascinated with Egypt, and I get that. And Greece and Rome and the United Kingdom. And I understand that. I really do. It's tourism dollars, too, as well, and research dollars. But we have the same beautiful history here in Central, South, and North America. It's all here, but nobody wants to give it that respect.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's almost as if it's being suppressed on purpose. And had been eradicated on purpose. Maybe, possibly, if any of these Anunnaki beings are still alive, for whatever reason, you never know. They could have been the one giving out the orders to, decimate this place and keep it down. You just never know what the true agenda is and who's behind what. And I know people may scoff and think that how can these Anunnaki beings or these ancient Sumerian people still be alive? But if you look just at the technology that we have right now, not in the future, but right now, today in 2018, we have the technology to shorten a human being's telomeres on chromosome number 2 so that a human being can live to approximately 300 years old right now, today. We have the capability of 3D printing organs, veins, and all different types of body parts, even including parts that move like hip joints and knee joints and everything else. We have the capability of doing gene therapy to remove diseases and so forth out of the body. So we have all this today in 2018. So we can literally create a human being or allow a human being to live, like I say, 300 years. Now, imagine we advance our technology another 50,000 years from now, what we can do, what a human being can do, how long a human being can live, obviously without getting shot or in an airplane crash or some crazy tragedy. Just normal life, it will be a very long time. I mean, human beings can live for a very, very, very long time, especially if you develop some type of regeneration chamber as well, which is probably most likely gene therapy. So thinking that these people should be dead is I think that there are still some of these ancient people alive, maybe even walking around amongst us right now.
Well, most people don't know. I'll just go ahead and tell them now that Billy Carson is actually 260 years old. And I'm sorry about that, Billy, but the truth is out. There's one other thing going back to this point about the disrespect, lack of respect that this continent has received. The Mayan codexes, there are codices. The Spanish arrived and literally burned and destroyed everything, the entire history. Now, imagine if we had that the same thing happen around the world, where entire histories were destroyed. There are only 3 official codexes in the world that were saved right, that were saved, the Dresden, the Madrid, and the Paris Codex. There's an alleged fourth codex, that the Grolier Codex. We don't even know if that's real. And that is all that is left. The Dresden Codex, there's 74 pages, right? The Madrid Codex, 112 pages. The Paris Codex, 22 pages. That's it.
Yeah.
Everything else burned, destroyed, pounded into the ground, and left. I just don't understand that. Why all of that history, all of those questions that we have, we ruined it for ourselves. We burned it, destroyed it, and didn't want to have anything to do with it. The exact opposite of the way that we treat the United Kingdom, or think about Ireland, or Giza, or Rome, or all of the islands of Greece. What if we just went in there and just pummeled everything and knocked it over, right? Threw everything into piles and burned it. It's incredible what we did here on our own continent.
Yeah, and that's why I liken it to suppression. It's almost if you read the book of Deuteronomy in the Bible, if you really look at the original translations, if you go from like the Aramaic or from the Hebrew, you find out that it's really not God giving out the orders for these people to go out and destroy these other people in other cities. It's gods with an S. It's really these Sumerian gods talked about in the Sumerian tablets that are giving out orders of people that they're ruling over to go into other regions of the earth and destroy, fight, battle, kill other people, their own relatives. Really, they wanted more control, more power, more resources, and so forth, kind of like we do today with our armies and everything else. But so that's why I liken this to some type of suppression, because this almost seems like one of these quote unquote gods from another region said, I'm going to do everything in my power to hold down the knowledge from this particular cousin of mine who ruled over this area and brought the civilization up to this level. I want to suppress it because I want to be the one, over here, maybe the one in Africa or whatever, that gets most of the credit. So that, to me, I liken it to like suppression of information.
Why
systematic suppression?
Yeah. Why suppress it?
These people that they do it, like, for example, an Amun-Ra ordered Akhenaten out of Egypt to go around and deface all of these statues and etchings and glyphs and everything else, because he wanted to be the one and only God. He's a jealous God. That's where the Bible gets it from. Gets it from Amun-Ra. I'm a jealous God, and there'll be no other gods but me. That all comes from Amun-Ra, who then he ordered the Pharaoh Akhenaten that tell everybody there was only one God. He's the sun god, and to go around and deface. A lot of people think that these statues and so forth were defaced and destroyed by Spaniards and Europeans. But the fact of the matter is, it was destroyed ordered by Akhenaten. Even the complete histories were erased from hieroglyphs in certain areas. So, again, that was because this god Amun-Ra wanted to be the king of all, the king of kings, the god of gods. The top of the heap. So he wanted everything suppressed from the other people that were literally his own family members. So that just gives you a small idea as to why suppress. They have these big egos where they want to be the ones that get credit for everything. It's the most ridiculous, egotistical. You can think of somebody can be that technologically advanced, but the problem that I think we had is when they came to this planet, they didn't have any more strict rules over them. Gradually, as you read the text, you discover that they start breaking laws and rules that had been established since time memorial. But they started breaking them, and as they started breaking these rules and laws, they started becoming comfortable with breaking the rules and laws, and kind of became the Wild Wild West. Earth kind of became the Wild Wild West in ancient times, where they would literally just go around, do whatever they want, masqueraded as gods. They literally got to one point where they literally thought they almost were gods. So I think that the jealousy and the envy and the need and want to be the number one top dog is the reason why a lot of these battles and wars took place.
With the different texts that we have, not only in Edfu, but in Mesopotamia and in India, where these texts definitely say Our history goes back not thousands of years, but tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. Why do we ignore that? Why doesn't history just go back and say, okay, you know what, we have to consider this, that we aren't just 5,000 years old, right? That the Ice Age was at 10,000 BC, that civilization is much, much older than that. Why is it that we can't start to seriously consider what is already written?
I used to think originally that when I first learned about this and realized that I came to the realization that we're much older than we thought. I used to originally think, well, it's just because a lot of these theories had come out and had been printed in books, and a lot of money had been made, and nobody wanted to change it. But then I realized we were already changing things every single year anyway when we come up with new discoveries. So why is history the main thing that's being suppressed from the human civilization?
Right.
So I came up with a new theory, and my new theory is that these ancient people, these ancient bloodlines, don't want us to know the truth about our ancient history, because once we learn the truth about the ancient history, and that a lot of the stuff that in the religious arena is really false or plagiarized and modified and changed to get us programmed in a certain way, I think that a lot of religious systems would collapse, economic systems would collapse, belief systems would collapse, and the people might join together once again, and there's more of us than them, and overthrow the oligarchy that's ruling over this planet and take control of this planet. 7.5 billion people can easily take control of 100 families that are ruling. And I think that suppressing the knowledge and information systematically over many millennia has worked for them, because it's kept us in a state where, and also culling us off through different various methods, whether it's plagues, which I believe now were permanently put out, different types of diseases were purposefully put out, as well as now vaccines and all this other stuff that they systematically use, fluorides and so forth, to dumb us down and keep us dying early. Because a person gets to a point where they begin to realize this, they die, and then the next generation takes over from the same dumbed down point. So I think that their techniques have really, really worked over many thousands of years. And the main reason for this suppression is to keep us from knowing who we truly are and where we truly came from, so that we don't overthrow the oligarchy that's ruling this planet.
Well, when the truth is revealed, then it's going to backfire.
Exactly.
It's going to backfire in a big way.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah, because we have to, especially in this information age that we are in now, if something surfaces, and it doesn't matter if it comes out of Egypt or if it comes out of Antarctica, it doesn't matter, whatever happens where it is revealed that we were around 250,000 years ago. Whatever that is, it's going to spread around the world in nanoseconds.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
That's what they're afraid of.
Right. And everything will completely implode on them. I mean, the structure and the ruling elite that structure that is in place will simply dissolve quickly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, there was a study done looking into the Crusade area and the Papal Inquisition and how it affected where we are right now technologically. Technologically, we should have already been to the moon in the 1800s.
Right.
What stopped us were the Papal Inquisitions and so forth. That's what slowed down technology, because anybody who had a technological device or a technological mind was killed, tortured, and so forth and so on. Technology was the work of the devil and everything else. But again, all of that to me was put into the system through some other source, through some outside source that was looking to control the path. Just like the temple, the Tower of Babel incident in the Bible, which is also in the Sumerian tablets, you discover that this Enlil, who's one of the gods ruling over Earth, comes back after where he's been, who knows, and the people are building a tower similar to an Anunnaki tower, where it's either a space port or it's just a tower that's mimicking it, whether it's a cargo cult type of a tower. Mm-hmm. We don't exactly know, but what kind of a God sees people working together and in unification to accomplish a goal that isn't hurting anybody, and then destroys it. And then not only destroys it, but then says, my seed shall not abide a man forever. His years shall be 120. So now there's a genetic modification, which we've discovered recently, where they genetically modify chromosome number 2 to where a human being can't live past 120 years. Scientific peer-reviewed fact, telomere to telomere fusion. And then also spreads them out around the planet and changes their language so that they can't even communicate with each other.
Right.
There's no creator of the universe that's supposed to be all-loving, all-knowing God that's going to do that to creation because they came together to work on a goal. It doesn't make any sense.
It's so obvious, isn't it? It's just so obvious. I've thought about that so much. What's next for you? Okay, the book. It's shipping.
The book is shipping. Finally, yeah. I'm going to sit down and tell you it was amazing the forces that were trying to go against this book getting out, but it got done. It's going out. Autographed copies. I sent you also yourself a copy for you by digital as well today. You've got with a password on it.
I did get it. The Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. So it's shipping. It must feel good to finally get that done.
Oh, listen, man, I'm so happy. The book ended up being a lot longer than I wanted it to be. I could have kept going. I could have made it 800 pages. It's 449 pages. I could have kept going and going and going. I got to the point where I realized I couldn't continue to add on to this other book. With the price of production would be more than I can sell the book for. So
right.
But I think people are going to learn a lot from this. This is being my first one, and I'm probably going to come up with a volume number 2 because there's just so much more that I could have talked about in there as well. I mean, you can go on and on and on in this type of topic, But I think people are going to like what they find, what they learn in there, and I think it's going to enlighten a lot of people, and I think they're going to really enjoy it.
And everybody can order it over at forbiddenknowledge.com, right?
Correct. Forbiddenknowledge.com with the number 4. Forbiddenknowledge.com. You can order the book, and please check it out. It's an amazing book. I think it's going to open up a lot of eyes, and there's a lot of metaphysical information and knowledge and wisdom in there. And when you see some of the correlations that I make between where the Bible got a lot of its content, other religions got their content, and also I link it with a lot of quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and modern science, so that you can see that this is a very highly technologically advanced writing, not just metaphysical, but also scientific as well.
I cannot wait to read it. I just can't. I cannot. And congratulations on that. And we've got to get Donnie Arcade on the show. So speak with him, but as soon as possible, we've got to get Donnie on. Thank you so much, Billy. I know you just got back into the country last night. I want everybody to know he got back last night. He was out doing his thing. Tonight he's on with all of the Fadernauts. And I want to thank you for that, Billy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you, man.
Billy, you are the very best. Never change.
All right, you too.
Billy Carson. ForbiddenKnowledge.com is the website, and you can go and order the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets right now. It is shipping finally, and rumor has it, I've got an autographed copy coming my way. Maybe we'll get some others, and we'll give them away here on Fade to Black to all of you. All right, thank you, Billy. I am going to take a quick break. I'll be right back. I'll open up the phone lines, and we'll head to the fourth quarter here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Billy Carson, ForbiddenKnowledge.com with the number 4. Go get the Compendium. I'll be right back.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana Pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Teppy. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hey, can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. The holidays are coming. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Open up the phone lines. 323-825-5045. 323-275-9695 are the numbers, and they are open now. You guys are watching me click here. And there we go. Okay, phone lines are open. I want to remind everybody, if you enjoyed that conversation with Billy Carson, he is going to be at Soul Tech, and he is going to be teaching up there. And I already know what his curriculum is going to be. Of course, it's going to be Thoth. But Billy's going to be there, and he's going to have his new book, The Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, will be up there too as well. SoulTechGathering.com. We are going to be teaching August 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, 4 days up there at ESETI Ranch. SoulTechGathering.com. Now, Corey Good's going to be there, my special guest. We're going to have James Gilliland is going to be speaking and teaching. Jason Quitt, Matthew Ryan, Michaela Sheldon, Teresa Yanaris, Holly Marie, Mary Gabriel, John Lund, Dana Harvey, of course, Billy, Laura Cantu, and Christine Contini. And we've got a few tickets left, and you can go and sign up right now at SoulTechGathering.com. We've got a couple of things I want to, we're going to be doing some cool games. We've got a party and live music that we're going to be doing on Sunday night. We're going to have music, I think, just about every night there. We've got amazing catering set up. What else do I want? Of course, we've got sky watching that is going to go on every single night on the Field of Dreams. I'm going to be hosting panels and all of the events all weekend long. It's going to be great. So you want to go and get your tickets right now. We only have a few left, and I want to stress that we are today's the 25th. We're going to arrive there. Oh, I saw somebody post. We're going to arrive there on the 7th. It kicks off on the 9th. So we're going to arrive on the 7th, and we're going to stay a day or two past as well. And we're doing that for a couple of reasons. One, we were there for 4 nights the last time we were at ECETI last summer, and it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. I so didn't want to leave. So this time around, we are making sure that we get our fill. So we're going to be there for a full week. If you want to arrive early, you can. Plenty of camping and places to stay. So you can do that. And we're going to get there on the 7th and stay through for a whole week and depart on the 14th. So come on up and hang out with us early. Yeah, we've got a really cool, how do I want to say this? We've got a really cool vehicle that we're going to be pulling in and parking there. Now, before I get to the phones, and let me look at this here. Oh, man, I've only got... let me grab some phone calls really quick. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, this is Ryan Evan O'Neill from Hamilton, Ohio.
Hi, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Jimmy?
I'm doing good, man. What'd you think about Billy?
I thought everything he talked about was on point. Like, I had a very good understanding of all of it. Did he say he didn't get into the caves this time underneath?
Yeah, he didn't get into the caves. Yeah, I don't think he attempted it this time around. Or maybe he said that he couldn't get into the caves, but they're huge.
Yeah, I was just because I do a lot of sacred geometry, and I'm an amateur cryptographer.
Right.
And so I never, that's some information that I've never written down, is the dimensions of the caves underneath.
Yeah, they're huge. They're huge. I don't think they've been fully explored either. They're huge. I've seen a lot of video. They're just tremendous. Huge cave system.
Like the tomb for the emperor over in China that they won't let people go into,
right? Because
of the mercury content, they say.
Right.
I think it's just a bunch of FUD, They just like Billy talks about, it's forbidden knowledge. It's just, and with the planetary shift into the age of Aquarius, I just think more of this stuff is going to start coming out and start coming to light,
I can't wait for it to be honest. I just can't wait. And like I said with Billy and Ryan, thank you for the phone call, my friend.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you, man. Great phone call. It will spread around this planet like that, right? One little tick, one little thing that blows everything out. It won't be able to be suppressed. It was easy to do that in years past. It was easy when we were talking about, the information being put down on paper or books, and how books were printed and how the distribution happened on that. And you wanted to close it down. You collected the books and, killed a couple of people, and it in a couple of months, everything is forgotten. So it was easy to. It's not that kind of party today. It is difficult. So when you talk about things like look what Anonymous did with the Arab Spring in Tunisia, for instance, or what went down in Egypt. Getting that knowledge out about what is going down, it's instantaneous now. You cannot hold it back. Governments are threatened with this freedom of information that we have today, that forbidden knowledge. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hello, it's Jan Erik from Norway again.
Hey, how are you, man? All the way from Norway.
Hello. Yes, good morning to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning.
It's morning. It's now 6:30 in the morning, so I'm heading to job.
Did you
heading to work.
Did you listen to Billy?
Oh my God, he's amazing. This guy, Jesus Christ, he's so full of knowledge. Unbelievable.
You know what?
He's so right on the spot.
He is. I'll tell you something that was so great for the Fadernauts was Billy hanging out at Contact in the Desert. So we were having all these little Fader, groups all over the place at Contact in the Desert. Billy just comes up, sits down, what's up? And everybody just started laying the questions on him. And it went till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning every night. And I was just so proud of Billy, the respect that he got. And the questions were all over the place. And he was able to just sit and be patient and address everybody's questions every single day and night. It was so much fun. Just like he does on this show with me, he was doing with everybody at Contact in the Desert. It was amazing. He's got groupies now.
He's so down to earth, this guy. When he's talking with the frequency so right. You get the knowledge straight in and store it. What they talk about.
Yeah, and there's one other point that you need to realize, not you, but I mean just in general, the public, is Billy goes out to these sites. That's what he does. He goes out, he flies around, he's doing this research, right? He goes to Egypt, he goes to Europe, he goes to Central and South America. He's out there trying to figure out, like tonight when I said, look, you're doing this, and this, but you're also, you just went to Coral Castle, right? He's out there trying to figure this out, man.
Yeah, he take the puzzles further.
I know, right?
He got the pieces. Now he put the puzzle to a picture, and now we see the picture, and now we can see that it's even a huger picture by the puzzles.
There's a reason why. There's a reason why he's got millions of followers. Hey, have a safe drive to work, all right? And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Man, it's so cool. Norway. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, this is Paul.
Hey, Paul. How are you?
Wow, I was just so shocked that suddenly you answered and I'm talking to Jimmy. Hey, I'm Paul Carr from Orange, Virginia, which is the first Orange, home of James Madison, our fourth president.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, man. Oh, my gosh, I can't believe I'm talking to you.
It's okay, man. Take a deep breath.
It's the first time I tried to call, you know.
Take a deep breath.
I've been listening to you for like a year.
And when you hear Paul, I wanted to ask you, when you hear first-time caller too, which I really enjoy, when you hear somebody like Billy bring it like he did tonight, what is that? How does that make you feel about this community and where you are able to go and just sit down and listen to this? Because after the show, you're going to go and do your research. You're going to go and do your thing. How does that make you feel that Billy is out there doing it?
Oh, I like Billy a lot. He's one of my favorite guests you've had. And it makes me feel good. He's real down to earth, you know. He's done his research, you can tell that. And I love pyramids anyway. You know, you can't go wrong with me when you talk about a pyramid.
Yeah. I'm right with you on that one.
And like how like where they're placed. You know, I believe what is it? In Mexico, One of them is at 19.5 degrees.
Yep.
Right? Which is
the famous 19.5.
Right. Exactly.
It goes back to Richard Hoagland.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you this: when we look at each one of these megalithic structures, and it doesn't matter if you're talking about Pumapunku or the Great Pyramid or Stonehenge or Machu Picchu, Chichen Itza, they are all deliberately placed around this world. And we are supposed to believe that a lot of these structures are built by Stone Age man before the Bronze Age, right?
Primitive stuff, right?
Yeah. Running around in animal skins. But yet this kind of stuff, and they want us to accept both ideas, right? Primitive cultures, but yet they were able to build on these perfect points that suggest that they knew the circumference of the Earth, that they knew true north, not magnetic north, true north.
Or they'll encode within the structure, like where it's sitting. All right, let's go to Cydonia Plain, or Cydonia on Mars, right?
Right.
The 5-sided pyramid there.
Mm-hmm.
The angle of it is its latitude.
Yes.
It knows where it's sitting.
Right.
They encode those things in it, and it's good because it's made out of stone, for one thing. It's going to last forever, and you can look at it and you can study it and realize, hey, they knew about longitude and latitude back then somehow. They had enough technology to map out the world.
Have you listened to the last show that we did with Ed Nightingale? Okay, this is what you should do. And I appreciate your answer. Is the right answer, okay? Because this is what I want you to do, is go to YouTube and go and look up the Ed Nightingale show. I'm going to guess and say 4 months ago, maybe 5 months ago. But go and look at that, because what we did in that, which we don't normally do, is we have all of Ed's presentation there, all of the mapping, the artwork, and the math on how he lays everything out. And this is what Ed did. He starts with the center of the head of the Sphinx. Okay?
Right.
And spirals out of that with a Fibonacci spiral.
Yes. Now I remember this one now.
Right. And go through that Fibonacci spiral. I love that. By the time he's done with the end of his presentation, the center of the head of the Sphinx is connected to celestial connections in our solar system.
Right.
Now, and the math not only works, but I would go on the record now and say it's correct. Now, how is it possible without flight, without satellite imaging, without anything else, that Stone Age man built the Giza complex with those pyramids and other structures that are there too as well, including the Sphinx, and laid all of that out to connect to everything else? It's episode 829. Okay, just so you know, you can write that down. Episode 829.
Or how'd they move the stones or cut the stones?
No, that's
especially the granite ones.
Well, that's a whole nother. That's a whole nother.
If they had high technology, of course they did. If anybody that doesn't see that, just there's
Well, see, this is
keep their eyes closed.
I've done a list of this many times. I have a list of about 20 20 serious issues when it comes to Egypt. And and that's one of them. I mean, and so when you just deal with the granite that is inside of the king's chamber, and you're talking about 70-ton stones 500 miles away that were quarried at 3000 BC, when, again, the rest of the world is running around in animal skins, but yet they were able to do that and drag those across the desert. Apparently, that's what they want you to believe. I did the math. Just those granite stones moving a foot an hour. I forget I did the math, whatever it was. But it was, it's 200 years across the desert. Or whatever it is. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't work. The math doesn't work. Forget about cutting. So, transporting them, well, let's talk about cutting them. Before they were ever transported, how did they cut them? Because they didn't have steel.
I read that guy Dunn's book, what was it called? Power Plant of Giza?
Oh, yeah.
The Giza Power Plant?
Yeah, Christopher Dunn, yes.
Christopher Dunn, that was it. He opened my eyes pretty big time. I probably read it about 20 years ago, where he pretty much proves that they had to have high technology, high tech tools, diamond tipped blades and stuff. At one point, there was 2 different statues side by near each other that are exactly the same, cut exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and again, we're talking about granite. And the way that Christopher Dunn lays that out, and he does it so well, I've seen him do it so many times, that this wasn't somebody that just sat down and went, I'm going to carve a face, right? It's not about that. It is perfectly laid out in 3D, and there has to be because the circles and the radius line up in a 3D world. It's not. It's just not carved on a whim by some great sculptor, some great artist. No, the measurements that were done here to get those faces correct, and it's not just the face. It's the chin. It's the lips. It's the eyes. It's the eyelids. It's the nose. It's the ears that were just perfectly done with measurements in a 3D world. I don't know how it was done, but I can tell you.
They did it with copper chisels, Jimmy.
Yeah, and chicken bones. I'll talk to you, Paul. Thank you for the phone call, my friend. Don't be a stranger.
I'll call you again about something I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, you should do that.
I've had.
Well, tomorrow night, man. It's Fader night. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Hey, nice. Okay. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you,
care.
man. That's what I'm talking about. Nothing like a first-time caller. But that right there, when we talk about, let's not mess this up, okay? It's one thing to bring up how did they get the stones, these red granite blocks, 500 miles. Okay, that's a huge question. But we got to back up off of that and now address the basics. How did they quarry them? They didn't have steel. They might have had, and I'm saying might, copper, which ain't doing anything to granite. It's simply not. So before we talk about transporting them, let's talk about how they quarried them. Impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. So either they had steel or they had something much, much more advanced than that. The steel part, there is evidence, and again, suppressed, completely suppressed. There is evidence in the 5th chamber above the king's chamber, whatever they call it, up on top, where there is rust. Now, you heard me correct. Rust in the granite, which suggests one thing: iron, right? Steel, iron used. Now, iron and steel didn't happen for another 2,000 years. 1,500 years. Depends on what part of the earth you're on. Now, wait a minute, right? It's like either the pyramids are that old and they had steel, or they are not. And I really do. I think that the pyramids were secondhand structures that the pharaohs inherited, the fourth dynasty, when they came. Those pyramids were already there. It's that simple. What Billy brought up today, what is underneath the Great Pyramid, we now know that there is a cave system there. But putting that aside, that the Great Pyramid was built on top of a structure that I'll lay it out, 50,000 years. There you have it, 100,000 years. The Great Pyramid and the complex was already there. Why? I'm going to go to the basic of the basics. There's no hieroglyphics inside or outside the Great Pyramid. Why? They didn't have hieroglyphics when that pyramid was built. They didn't have that type of writing. There was no reason to put writing on it 50,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago. And I don't care what anybody says. I really don't. If the pharaohs built that, if Khufu built that, or anybody else in the pharaonic period, they would cover it with hieroglyphics. The reason why in Saqqara there is hieroglyphics on those pyramids, and I'm just saying, this is just logic speaking. The reason why there's hieroglyphics there is because they were imitating the Great Pyramid, and they just never succeeded. They covered those with hieroglyphics because those were built in the 4th dynasty, 5th dynasty, 6th dynasty. It's that simple. It's a very easy thing to figure out. It's just called logic. There's a reason why there's no hieroglyphics on the Great Pyramid or anywhere on the Giza Plateau. It's simple. They didn't have them. That's it. There's no other way to look at it. And I'm cool with it. I am totally cool with it. I really, at this point, in my research and where I am today, I really don't care what anybody else thinks. It's just the way that it is. And I do want to thank Billy Carson for coming in here tonight. Amazing. He got back in country last night. Tonight, he's on with us here at Fade to Black for all of you. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Tomorrow night is Fader Night. Open lines all night long. John Rappaport's going to be here with us. No More Fake Newsroom Live. Shows produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar, Webmaster Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboys, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2018 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, Fader Night, all night long, open lines. Until then, everybody be safe. Go back, Lee Tappy.